Hello, baby. Hi, guys. I've just finished teaching Pilates. And I've loved teaching my classes this week because this week I have been very, very focused on teaching in relation to the energetics on the planet at the moment, and I love teaching from that place, just really aligning our physical, mental, emotional bodies, spiritual bodies to what's going on energetically. But I have a little apology to make to anybody. I had a message from a very beautiful follower of mine on here, and I want to respond to that. We have spoken privately, and I just wanted to say that my earlier post today that was talking about if you are no longer resonating with the anger, the frustration, the lies, the ridiculousness, because there comes a point where, especially if like me, you have been, you know what, I'm going to be really honest with you. 20 years ago, me and my family were watching the royal family parade in front of us in St Albans, where I live, and I started yelling about the New World Order. I was so angry, and I was following what was going on then with the New World Order. So that anger and that rage was with me then. And I have done an awful lot of inner work to release my own inner sacred rage and to meet a lot of withheld emotions and anger and upset and repressed feelings that I've held in my body for a long time. Hello, you gorgeous boy. So I was carrying an awful lot of anger in my system. I was angry with life. I was angry as a 19-year-old. I was very frustrated. I wasn't met emotionally in the way that I wanted to be by my parents, who were very loving parents, but no parents who are living in the world. Like, there are so few conscious parents around. Parents do their best, but because we're not brought up consciously, those of us who have come into these bodies, and I'm talking to the majority of you, will not have been met fully, especially, you know, if you're a light worker, if you're somebody who is here to assist in the ascension, and you have been slightly ostracized from normality because you've always known that this isn't really how it should be, then you won't have been met. And many of us have been creatives. Many of us have worked in mental institutions. For example, I worked in a mental institution for a while. I worked with elderly people, looking after elderly people. If you've done a profession where you have helped people or taught people or been an artist or any of those kind of professions where you're just helping and supporting. So I'm waffling, aren't I? But what I wanted to come back on and say was that I wasn't saying that you shouldn't feel your anger and you shouldn't be sharing what's going on out there. You absolutely should, if that's what you're called to do. And what I was really saying was that for some of us who have been connecting with anger and sacred rage for a long time, and have done a lot of healing and a lot of inner process work and have released a lot of anger, we're now ready. As I realized over the last month, it's been coming, going, but the feeling and the desire has been becoming stronger and stronger to actually now leave the rage and the anger for those who are still wanting and needing and feeling they are called to express themselves that way, to support our brothers and sisters. You know, the human family, we are all in this together, and the amount of separation is just so big at the moment. The separation between us with our brothers and sisters, those who who are not awake and those who are awake. And it doesn't mean that those who are awake are any better than the others who are not awake. It's nothing to do with people being better, higher, lower, anything to do with that. It's about what our soul came here to experience. And as we start to realize that what's going on out there is not serving humanity at any level, when you feel into your system that it's not serving yourself or your brothers and sisters to be repeatedly saying the same thing over and over, as I have been doing for decades, and it's time in your own heart to start sharing the light and sharing the love without spiritually bypassing. I've done so much work on releasing my own anger, and when we express our anger through the heart, it becomes sacred rage. And I have done, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've done a huge amount of inner work around releasing my own rage around my past and my ancestors as well. So there's been an awful lot of very deeply held wounding, particularly around the masculine for me. And so when we have cleared ourselves a lot from a lot of wounding and a lot of anger, there comes a time when it feels like you've cleared out as much as you need to in order to now be open to really step into the frequency of love. So there's a huge difference between spiritual bypassing, where it's all love and light and fluffy clouds and no negative feelings, like we only want the positive feelings. It's not that at all. It's about welcoming all of us, all of our anger, all of our rage, inviting it in. Underneath anger, there is always grief. And I have met the depths of my grief. I have met the depths of the collective grief, especially around the feminine. I have literally, in Heart Circle in Holland with 70 other facilitators, have been on the mat on all fours, literally screaming for the feminine wounding and the repression and everything that we've been through as women. The sacred masculine, the sacred feminine are such precious, pure, divine, sacred energies that have been completely lost in the third dimension. And the degree, the depth of emotional work that I personally have done has now allowed me to really embody, and we've all got that. We can all do that. We can all do our inner work. I'm no means there, but I'm just honouring the space that I am in. So thank you so much for all the private messages, particularly one lovely young man. You know exactly who you are. And I know I'm very grateful that you have sent so many people over to me. And so I just wanted to, as requested, to just share that I am not talking about any kind of bypassing anger or rage. And actually, if you can really meet your anger and your rage and feel it and look at what it is in your own life, in your own past, in your own childhood, where you haven't allowed yourself to feel that rage, to feel that anger, to feel your emotions. Because inner work and the work that I do and the heart circles I do really gives us space where we can heal at a very deep level, so that we can access a much bigger, safer range of emotions. When I say safer range, I mean a safer space where we can access our emotions in a really, really safe, trusting space, And we can then, when we feel safe and when we fully trusting, we can fully surrender into our feminine energy, the sacred feminine, and we can be really held so that we can collapse deeply into all the feminine emotion that moves within us, because ultimately this is a healing of a deep collective wounding for all of humanity. It is so powerful. It is so immensely powerful. And any of you who haven't done any sort of inner work, emotional work, or any kind of inner child healing, or being allowed to, to scream your rage into a pillow and just touch some of that anger and that rage, and when you've really worked with it and held it and loved it and welcomed it, there's only so many times that you can meet that. And then what will happen is, as you clear out all these repressed emotions and angers and frustrations and all the shit you went through when you were maybe, abused, physically, mentally, sexually abused, or bullied at school, or abandoned, or wounded, or all of these unworthy beliefs that we hold and we carry that weigh us down. And just being allowed to meet those emotions, to be safely held, and I don't mean physically held, I mean metaphorically held, given the space to just allow the anger, and then underneath the anger there's always sadness and grief. It's such a beautiful thing to be a human being. We're not taught this at school. We're not allowed to be human beings at school in the way that I believe human beings are here to experience such incredible range of moving emotions. Emotions are just energy in motion. We are energetic beings. That's what we are. And we are beautiful rays of light. But if we just think we are sparkly, beautiful rays of positive energy, then we are deluded, because actually as human beings we came here to remember who we really are. So we came here with a very severe case of amnesia. So when we land here, we've actually purposefully we've forgotten who we really are. And the whole purpose of waking up is to remember who you really are. So very often those of us who chose to come here, who have had a lot of experiences, whatever your traumas are, we're very often the ones. And it's interesting because I remember years ago somebody once said to me, oh, it's all the wounded people that are the spiritual people. Well, if you want to see it like that, you could actually see it like that, because what you believe is true anyway. But what I've learned on my journey of this is that those of us who have had the traumas, whatever's happened, have actually been the ones who have had more opportunities in life to meet that and move through it. That's how we grow as human beings. So in other words, you cannot love another any more than the degree in which you have self-love. So however much your own self-love is that same degree that you can love another. You actually can't love someone more than you love yourself. And the same goes with joy and inner peace. The only way that you can experience greater joy and greater inner peace is if you've literally gone the polar opposite and gone more into the depths of your grief, your sadness, your rage. Because the more we feel that end of the spectrum, by feeling it, we actually propel ourselves more into the light. You know, it's a bit like you can't see the stars shining brightly unless it's really dark. And that's how it is for us human beings. And that's why inner work is so important. So we can't keep on pouring the rage out of there if we haven't been willing to meet the rage in our own system and love it and transmute it and alchemize it into the light. And that's how we become greater, more expansive light energy beings. So you cannot have one without the other. And if you know anybody who is just preaching love and light and peace, as many of us did 5 or 6 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago, those of us in the spiritual community, my God, we've been on this really weird roller coaster. And as I said, you know, it's 20 years ago that I was standing in the street, getting absolutely enraged by stuff that was going on, New World Order. We could see what was going on, but of course we were not taking seriously. So welcome your rage, welcome your grief, allow yourself to feel it. Allow it to bring up whatever in your own system that's anger. Don't just always direct the anger out. Look at what it is in your own system that is causing you to feel disconnected to who you really are. And the more that you feel your anger and your rage and give loving space for it to be moved through your system, the more you're going to relax your nervous system and the more expansive you're going to be for all this incredible light energy to come in. That's all. Big love. See you soon. Have a great night.